All right. I've been privileged enough in the last 20 or so years of my career to follow the progression of innovation in technology and the results that it gives to businesses and society. And I've been happy in stewarding the industry, stewarding clients, helping companies through pretty much three generations of our recent computing history, starting from client server, then moving into web-based internet technologies, and then mobility and cloud, and now I'm deeply immersed into the whole decentralized technology, commonly known as blockchain innovation. Yeah, so what I specifically do now is I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Digital Twin Labs, based out of Dallas in the US, though we operate globally with clients. And there are three things that we do. One is we provide product development motivated by blockchain or decentralized technologies. The second is we provide consulting engagement services, consulting services. And the third is we do token-based venture formations. So this gets into kind of the cryptographic tokens, digital tokens, and blockchain and kind of crypto assets. So that's specifically the three things that we are very focused on and very passionate in kind of driving the industry and the adoption to new business models. So, if I step back and think for a moment, we've all seen these game of large numbers, sometimes I call it, right? So many billions of devices by such and such a year, which to some point is interesting, but it really is almost meaningless. I think the lesson to learn out of this is that we are projecting a scale of computing that the planet has never seen before. We've not even in the pervasiveness that we've seen with mobile phones in such a quick uptake, the last few years. So the challenge I feel is the other challenge I feel is we are all having this conversation around technology and devices and things becoming smart and autonomous, but we are not giving a good enough definition with teeth on what does that really mean, and then what are the implications and how we engineer, and what are the implications to a business. So let me take an example. It's pretty well known that cars are becoming already are in autopilot features, already are in autonomous mode, and ready poised to become fairly autonomous, stage 4, stage 5 kind of vehicles. So we are getting to a point where we are not driving the car is driving us. So when we are talking about artificial intelligence, when we are talking about machine learning, when we are talking about other technologies which will relate to this, like blockchain and the IoT paradigm, and when we are talking about the world getting smarter, we have to talk in the context of the way things are right now, and now they get turned upside down. So instead of us searching for products will search for us, knowing the context of what I need. Instead of a container or a package that needs to be shipped and routing optimization being applied to it, the package or the container would itself discover the route that it should take, right? So we're completely flipping the approach of the relationship between man and machine, if you may, and the relationship between machines and machines, right? So that is a little bit more elaboration than simply calling things to be smart on how we should begin to look at it. The third issue and sort of the solution around this is, as we get into this world on scale that we are talking about, we are already hampered with the challenges of security. We are already hampered by privacy being breached, by lack of identity or identity being breached. So there has to be a new solution of how those very fundamental things around security, privacy, identity, etc., are handled, because as we very well know, that not only are there chinks in the armor, there have been disasters as far as security and privacy and identity has been concerned, and we've been in the internet world for, just 20 years, right? So if we were to go onto a sustained trajectory, those previous models of technology are not going to be able to repurpose and be applied to new forms and paradigms that we are talking about. So this is where the new technology advancements that are happening with AI, with machine learning, with IoT paradigms, with sensor technologies, the automotive industry alone invested last year $40 billion of R&D in automotive sensors. That's just one sector. So new innovation in many, and blockchain technology, distributed ledgers has to be approached, and you have to look at them in their knittings as opposed to in individual silos of technology. What can AI do for me? No. What can AR do for me, or what can blockchain do for me? You can't look at it in silos because you don't get the results that we need as a society, as an institutions, from our behaviors and our business flows. I think, so let me get a little bit specific about blockchain, which is one of the areas that Digital Twin Labs we spearhead with, but then it's flanked by IoT, it's flanked by cloud, which is really no longer a new technology. It's very well entrenched, but there is new innovation happening in the cloud space, and then it's also supported and flanked by, increasingly by AI and machine learning. So what I'm focused in, what Digital Twin Labs is focused is really on the knitting of these new technologies together. So three things that are really important in terms of the application of how of some of these technologies and towards business and societal needs is one is trust. The other is direct peer-to-peer kind of relationships, which really stems from decentralized behaviors. And the third is the convergence of really three flows, the physical flow, the digital flow, and the financial flow. I'll elaborate in that a little bit more in just a moment. So if you look at trust, right, so we spent the 90s building out TCP/IP and connecting routers and switches with cables. Then we spent a decade, 8 years, 10 years, over the whole inflection point of .com and the turn of the century, where we said, okay, we got this underlying connection of routers and switches and cables, but now we build web-based applications and tiers on it. And then on top of that, we build mobile applications and mobility. And mobile phones started talking to the internet, and mobility became a big thing, right? So we've seen this progression that has happened over time, but we focused on the internet of connectivity, we focused on the internet of information, but we haven't focused on an internet of trust. So what blockchain is now poised to provide to us is, on an existing internet, we have not just connectivity, we have not just information, but we actually have trust across transacting parties. And if you stop thinking in terms of technology, and you start thinking in terms of society and business and relationships, you are thinking about society and businesses and entities, you are thinking about relationships between them, right? You're thinking about relationships between them, you're thinking about exchanging assets between them, you're thinking about transactions. So it nets down to three things in one framework, and that is, you got entities, you got assets, and you got transactions, right? And that could be human, it could be currency, it could be documents, invoices, it could be physical goods. And then the last thing I would draw out is the convergence of three flows that are really important in the way we approach our solutions and our conversation, and that is the flow, the physical flow of goods, the digital flow, which in a sense is the digital twin of the physical, and then the third, not to miss, is the financial flow. So in some sense, if you look at the world, these three flows are native to pretty much everything, especially the digital and the financial. The physical flow may or may not be there, if it is, depending on whether it is a physical goods kind of an arrangement, but the other three. Right now, these three flows are totally separate. They're different platforms, they're different technologies, but you have to get them together. And right now, the way they are brought together is through very disjointed and patchy means. So we have an opportunity through technologies like blockchain and the effect that is happening through crypto tokens and cryptocurrencies in trying to, and IoT, right? Those are the three, and trying to bring these three flows together with integrity and with trust across the relationships I was talking about.
So that's how digital twins came about, then the name digital twins itself.
Exactly. So that's how the vision. That's exactly how the vision and also kind of the operating paradigm on which technologies we go after, and what is the nature of relationships and trust and solutions that we build for clients, and also in co-creating ventures. I'm not the kind who tries to make trends and projections on technology. If I do, I will not be consuming the medicine that I just delivered, right? So I think at the end of the day, the technology matters less and it has to become opaque. So I've been a student of design thinking, where really the service of a technology is when the technology is not visible in human-machine interaction. Machine-to-machine interaction is a little bit of a different story, but so what I would really look for is how do we innovate? The trend in how we innovate as a community, the trend in how we express, not the technology trend, but we express the impact of the technology to business, to cities, to public sector, and to societal behavior. So if we look at the behavior of these institutions of society, then how can technology come together in order to express itself on how it can serve our purposes? So if you take what I just described and kind of summarize it, instead of looking for the trend in one technology today and what it'll be next year or next 2 years, today it's blockchain. Tomorrow it could be a different kind of decentralized technology. Today it could be a certain cryptocurrency. Tomorrow it could be. So if we stay within certain paradigms and what I rather call not technologies but patterns, what I call patterns. What are the patterns that are important in serving the burning problems of our societal behavior, of our institutional behavior, of our business flows and business problems? I think that is really the knitting that is most important to look at, as opposed to individual technology trends. Clearly, the technology trends will find their place if they serve the behavior that that meets the gaps in society and institutions. Yeah, so I most of my life has been spent in the U.S. market, and I've covered North America in my previous roles as the CTO for IBM North America for its blockchain, IoT, and cloud unit, and then of course in the life that I live now, I've also covered extensively clients and companies in Europe. So it's a privilege to be in the Asia Pac market and the hub of innovation here in Singapore. So the way I look at it is that there is a really important cooperation and coordination between different sectors in any market, and that is entrepreneurs, existing large enterprises, of course, regulators, government, financial institution, that have to come together. So in one sense, the way I would net out this thought is that no one company or no one segment in this connected fabric that we exist can out-innovate a community. So in that regard, when I look at IoT Asia, it brings a community together where we had the opening ceremony being conducted by the Minister of Technology and Smart Cities and leadership from the public sector, and then of course we see so much innovation on the floor over here. And then there are people like me that are coming from certain specific areas of technology, and I don't understand most of what's going on over here at the component and the physical levels. So how we bring that together is really the piece of the puzzle, and I think we do it very well when we come together as a community. The other one I would say is that the nature of what we are trying to deliver to institutions, to society, to public sector, the complexity of it is only increasing, and you can't even venture to think about why it would not take. Earlier it used to be, yeah, you could just have technologies bring together a solution, but now you put a technology solution and it has rippling effects on regulation has to change, insurance models have to change, so on and so forth, and some of them are so disruptive that those frameworks don't even exist. And then the last thing I would say is there's a distinction to be made between the production of innovation and the consumption of innovation, right? And that bridge is important to cross. And I think that's a bridge which can be crossed with the help of disciplines and expertise coming together in these kind of forums on how can you take the production of innovation and bring it into consumption in the context of the consuming entity and ecosystem that is being built out.